This video is sponsored by Amazon Coins. Amazon Coins is a digital currency that you can use for in-game purchases on apps found in the Amazon Appstore, just like Epic 7. With Amazon Coins, you'll rack up huge discounts, up to 20% off. These discounts may help you break into summer when you pull for Summer Break Charlotte and her new limited artifact. You can also try downloading and playing Epic 7 on Windows 11 through the Amazon App Store. However, this feature is currently only available in the US. Amazon Coins are currently available in the United States, the UK, Germany, France, Japan, Italy, Spain, and Australia. Use my link found in the description below to support me and the channel while getting these great discounts in your next in-game purchase. The link will also provide you with step-by-step instructions on getting the Amazon App Store and Epic 7 installed on your device. Hey guys, welcome to another session of Epic 7. This is my initial thoughts video for Moon Bunny Dominiel. This is a newly released ML4 after our 3-month drought of new ML5s, ML4s. This is our first one again. Back in action. We saw this preview a couple months ago in their montage videos. Everybody kind of figured out it was a light elemental Dominiel, since they've been releasing the opposing ML element for some other heroes like Bad Cat Armin and Angel of Light Angelica. Speaking of Angel of Light Angelica, if we can compare power levels, I think that Moon Bunny Dominiel is not as strong as Angel of Light. Given what Angel of Light was thrown into, like the specific meta she was released into, Angel of Light was way more suppressive in my opinion. Moon Bunny Dominiel on the other hand though, because of how I'm speaking mainly RTA, especially RTA meta shift, becoming very aggro or having the ability to play aggro, it is more of a benefit than not being able to. I will say that. At the end of the day, it is honestly, you work with the best, the gear that you have and the best heroes that you have. You work with that and you start drafting accordingly. So it's not like, if you don't have her, you're going to fail. I think it's just if you have her, you will be able to enable more of a certain playstyle, and that being aggro and even cleave. That being said, I would say like rating Moon Bunny Dominiel's power level in the current meta with what is available right now versus Angel of Light Angelica. Angel of Light Angelica was way too broken. So if there is a perspective online or from another source, another perspective saying that Moon Bunny Dominiel is broken, I don't think anybody really holds to that position. Angel of Light definitely. I mean, even to this day, people still fear her. Probably the most drafted ML4 in this game at the moment. That being said, Moon Bunny Dominiel is a Soul Weaver, light elemental, and she doesn't heal. I mean, I should say that right off the bat. I mean, this is continuing on what I was talking about with Sharoon. When Sharoon was released, my initial thoughts video was saying that, hey, yeah, just because she's a healer and she doesn't heal does not mean she's bad, right? We have to look at the kit and see. Although Sharoon, I rated like she's really tough to use in the meta, and I think so far she's proven to be the case. I know that people try to make her work, but she's just way too slow. You'd have to play a very certain playstyle, and your opponent has to not draft certain heroes for her to really be enabled, in my opinion. But Moon Bunny Dominiel, I'm going to say this right now, if anybody who is a cleaver and aggro player and pull her, you will see her use, and in my opinion she really does have a place in the meta. This is some of the art. This is the art that lead up, this is part of the S3, but it leads up into the actual S3 animation. I just kind of like this illustration. This image is pretty nice. It's kind of painterly. And if you read the lore or watch the actual preview video, you'll know her lore, some kind of fortune teller thing. But I think it's based off of like some Korean folklore, which I think in like Chinese culture we have something similar. Not exactly, but something similar. Something about like some woman with bunnies on the moon making like mochi or whatever like that. I'm Asian and I'm kind of like trashing this kind of story. I don't even know the actual details, but something like that. So I think this is probably like some sort of parallel in like the Korean folklore or something like that. Either way, so here are the stat lines. The Soul Weaver Taurus, and like I said, she is a light elemental going the opposing element of CDOM. we have the same star sign as Singelica. Singelica actually more utility than anything. She does have a heal if you kill someone, and it was only like once per turn. Moon Bunny Dominiel does not. And again, like I said, I think the fact that a healer doesn't need to heal is okay. I mean, they're called soul weavers after all, not necessarily healers. So I'm okay with her taking on a different role. Like realistically, this is like a in a way like DN, right? We got barrier, we got attack buff, we got CR boost, no innate cleanse. S1 does something different, but the stat line is Singelica stat line. So with the base speed 114 after the Soul Weaver buff that we got like a month ago now, I suppose, she's pretty fast. Okay, she's pretty fast. I was putting my DN gear on her, and with the current RTA frenzy, the current season RTA frenzy plus 7 on all Soul Weavers, I can make her 299. Or actually, no, I think 300 exact, 300 speed exact. So I think if people have faster gear than that, and I know that a lot of people will probably try to move more speed gear around to make her usable. Again, like I said, I think she has a usable place. 114 speed, pretty good. The health is pretty low though, and again, if you're familiar with Singelica and you use her, you know that her health is probably the biggest struggle. The defense is actually okay, 631, not the highest as well, but I think realistically these types of Soul Weavers have everything in the speed and the ER. 4,500, her barrier when we get to the S2 is scaled on her max HP. So that could be an issue, but in my opinion, my conclusion is that it's not too much of an issue. Ideally, you probably want to run an HP neck somewhere though, or HP ring. One of the two accessories probably have to be HP in my opinion though. Depending on what kind of build you go with. Yeah, so 50 ER shown here because she gets a passive that gives her 20 innate. Otherwise, the actual star sign comes with 30%. The imprint release is very, very good. Okay, so this is like a really good sign. This is like DN's imprint release. DN's imprint concentration is actually the same, except that she's a 4-star base, so the stats are lower. 8.4% attack AOE, so it gives her that really supportive element and that really she has innate in her kit. And an imprint concentration of 14 health. 14% health for herself. I mean, again, 14% health scaled onto her own HP is just not as good as DN's if you're comparing the two. And most people, depending on the situation, they do flip the switch on DN's. I think in her case, if you're gonna flip the switch onto the health, you're really just wanting a thick barrier for that first turn, and that's pretty much it. So overall stats, I think I'm fine with it. I think it's the right choice for stats for what she needs to do. Okay, so that's my thoughts on the stats there. Flow control, so this is the S2, increases effect resistance by 20%, so this is a passive, and so I mean, I guess if you get sealed, in my opinion, like being sealed from Archdemon Shadow should not even be really discussed. I mean, it's part and parcel, like in terms of, we know Archdemon Shadow can seal anything that has a passive, so any passive gets disabled. But in terms of, I think Moon Bunny Dominiel's role will not be a face-off versus someone who drafts ADS. And I think if they draft ADS, they've already lost, based on how you would probably use Moon Bunny Dominiel. So the effect resistance plus 20, that's what we saw on the stat line, total of a 50%. At the start of enemy's extra turn, grants immunity and a barrier to all allies for 2 turns. Barrier strength increases proportion to the caster's max health. Immunity and barrier effects can only be activated once every 2 turns, and only activates when the enemy is a hero. So, I mean, it's quite obvious. We saw a play where Sea Lilies got a turn as soon as she S2'd. Everybody got 2-turn immunity, 2-turn barrier, as you can see there on the screen, and flow control coming out. Now, flow control did not have its own separate animation, so that means it will not trigger Politis, it will not trigger something like a Green Celine. It works like ML Haste's passive, which gets the barrier and the barrier and the immunity when someone is revived. So it does not affect the Politis or whatnot. So, like, I mean, that's good. In this scene, we're seeing it fight in a regular arena. In what do you call it? In World Arena, the same thing technically should happen, unless the Sea Lilies just decide not to do the S3, which is again a really big thing for Sea Lilius, just to get that vigor buff up. I mean, realistically, if you're facing off against the Sea Lilius, they're most likely still gonna S3, and hopefully that they just cut through the barrier. But it just really makes the S2 useless on Sea Lilius. Now, another play I do see, because I'm also trying to think, right? Like the extra turn thing, like we're all joking about this. Like I know many personally in the community who are joking about like, oh yeah, the next ML5 gotta be something that disables extra turn or something like that, right? It's just because like extra turn heroes are just too many. Sea Lilius, Peyra, Ran. So it is interesting that they introduced this into the Moon Bunny Dominiel, and I think the effect is okay. It's not too OP, so like it doesn't nullify the extra turn mechanic. Like it's not like, oh, if they grant an extra turn, immediately wipe full team or anything like that, right? It's not like a Politis, where I feel like if you do a non-attack skill on Politis or Green Celine, it's more punishing than something like this, which on the extra turn it grants immunity and barrier. It's a protection thing mainly. Versus Peyra, this would be useless unless you somehow... Actually, no, it would be useless. If she lands unbuffable on the rest of your team, even let's say your Moon Bunny Dominiel does not get debuffed, like unbuffable, then you know your whole team won't be able to get the barrier once she procs the extra turn, right? So that becomes an issue only versus Peyra. But I feel that like Smilegate is probably thinking like, okay, we got DJB to kind of deal with Peyra, and Peyra honestly has, I feel at least, more counters than Ran and Sea Lilius. So I feel like Peyra being picked early is usually weaker compared to the other two openers. Now, so I feel like Moon Bunny Dominiel doesn't need to deal with all three to make her good. Just the fact that she can deal with Ran and deal with Sea Lilius, which in my opinion, if those two are not pre-banned, they are some of the highest pick rates, as well the anchor DPS, or Huayang or Aravi. But with the immunity barrier for 2 turns, I feel that this could have a Ran play. So let me explain. So sometimes like because I'm trying to cleave slower players. I'm trying to cleave slower players. But let's say, like, you know, there's scenarios where, let's say my opponents, they draft Ran, I draft like a Sid and Wanderer Silk as a counter, right? It is quite interesting that sometimes, you know, or maybe I put an Acid in there, and then it all becomes about like, is the Ran a real Ran in terms of, can the Ran S2 attack buff and then S3 actually kill off my speedy DPS? So I literally saw someone streaming RTA today who had that issue. Well, he actually didn't run into an issue, but because his Ran actually killed. But basically his Ran go first, his opponent's Acid was right after. There was no connector in between, so the Acid could have killed off the Ran owner's Green Sid. So it was all about, you know, can the Ran actually wipe that Acid on that turn, right? And then that could be the end of the game. I feel that Moon Bunny Dominiel can actually be a decent Ran counter into that scenario. So if Ran chooses to S2, extra turn into the S3, you grant immunity and barrier to all allies. Now Ran does have to hit in order to strip. So he doesn't strip first, right? So he hits. So he hits into the barrier. Yes, most likely your immunity and your barrier will be dispelled after the hit, but I feel like if the barrier is fat enough, you might actually absorb some of that damage, meaning that your Green Sid or your Acid might actually survive that turn to nuke out the Ran's team. So this is where I feel like it could be useful there. And then on the top of the fact that, again, if you have the gear, you can make her fast enough with the 7-speed frenzy. Just like some DNs can actually outspeed, like some DNs are picked first, you know, first pick DN, and then someone goes Ran or whatever, and then you pick Acid, Wanderer Silk. Like I've been outsped that way too. Like DNs are at 300 speed, but then you have already 2 speed imprints, so she's at 310 speed minimum. Moon Bunny Dominiel, if you have the spare gear to make her, I think that she actually has that potential, right? She has the potential to be that pocket pick. Probably can deal with Ran, like I said, in that scenario. Probably can deal with the Sea Lilius quite easily, because outside of the attack down she does, she cannot provoke, right? Because once the immunity and barrier go up. So I think maybe a best in slot for Moon Bunny Dominiel will be something like Doctor's Bag, will provide AOE cleanse when she does the S3. So we'll talk about that in a bit. But like I said before, the barrier strength increases proportional to caster's max health. Her max health is pretty low. We'll have to see how the barrier scales, and then plus the skill enhancement barrier, like how much barrier does she get per % health, right? So we'll do some calculation there, but I am on the edge of ever probably self-imprinting her. I think that the attack release will probably always be best, but we'll have to see. Immunity and barrier effects can only be activated once every 2 turns. So this tells me that Moon Bunny Dominiel, because like she doesn't heal innate. So the barrier and immunity is a huge thing, but it can only be activated under this mechanic of an extra turn. So in my opinion, she's just like not going to be built for anything that is a bit too slow, because like one, she doesn't have that much supportive element to last that long in a fight, and then the opponents, depending on the hero that they choose, maybe they don't have extra turn mechanics that much, right? Like for example, Green Sid is also a hero with extra turn mechanic. So if he nukes out one of your heroes and you have Moon Bunny Dominiel, maybe he can't kill the second one, or at least he can't defense break, because then now you have a barrier and immunity. So in terms of like what I'm seeing in the meta, and honestly, it's starting really low in terms of the RTA ladder. It's not even the top players that are running these like teams like Ran, C Lilius, Green Sid, Wander, Silk combos. Like these are like people who have the confidence. Okay, whether they have the gear or not is different, but it's a mentality thing. If they have the confidence, they're gonna run it. I would say that like 70, maybe 60% of my run-ins in World Arena right now, even though it's early season, have been people who are just trying to speed contest with those heroes that I said. So unless it's pre-banned, then it's a whole different game. But so I feel that, like I said at the beginning of the video, this is what I think where Moon Bunny Dominiel really has a play. Like she feels like she has the kit to deal with a lot of the kind of the opening situations, but unfortunately, if you are part of the majority of players who are not able to have a full deck of speedy heroes, you will find her overwhelming, and I don't blame you for that. If I have no access to speed or no access to this type of World Arena play, I would be on the same page and be like, you know what, she's kind of like a Singelica, but not even that good. Well, maybe there's gonna be people debating about that. Anyways, we showed this, so a lot of talk about that. So the S2 in my opinion is pretty good. The S3, again, for these aggro cleave team minded people, the S3 is going to be something that you will salivate over. In accordance with the divinations, increase the attack of all allies with 2 turns, combat readiness by up to 20%. So if you skill enhance up to +2, it is a 4-turn cooldown with a -1, so it's a 3-turn cooldown skill. Very fast. It's a very fast skill. But like I said, I think if you're gonna draft her in the way that I have explained, you're most likely trying to kill your opponent really quick. So are you really gonna get the S3 up again? Maybe, because you do grant a skill null to yourself in terms of a Moon Bunny Dominiel. So that means her survival is going to be much higher, but the issue is that if you don't finish off your opponents, do your DPS already die? So that becomes perhaps an issue. I do think that Moon Bunny Dominiel, it doesn't have to be at 300 speed if you use her in areas like Guild War. So I feel like Peyra, depending on what she's, you know, paired with on Guild War defense, DJB often deals with her single-handedly, and then C Lilius, you know, I used to run just a Dark Bait and an Amelia, but Moon Bunny Dominiel, I think, even has higher potential than something like an Amelia and try to bait with Dark, because again, with the immunity and all that. But the S3 being able to provide increased attack, allies, and then 20% CR boost, I mean, this makes her like one of the best pushers in the game. When in World Arena with her base speed, she is going to be one of the fastest like speed openers in the game. So comparing to Holiday Yufine, ML Charles, except that their skills are not a non-attack skill, so they don't trigger Celine's, they don't trigger Politises. But Moon Bunny Dominiel does. I mean, even Politis actually soul burn into extra turn, right? It can trigger this. So like you could even put some, I'm just thinking out loud here right now. You could put some Politis plays, like people who are using Politis against you, you could force them to not do a double turn, you know what I mean? Like to soul burn. Spike Tenny as well. Like, you know, soul burn. So actually, you know what? Maybe if she's on a healing artifact, maybe she has a play. I still don't think like into a Spec Tenny, into a standard she'll fit. DN has just better turn cycling in general. But again, I think maybe her best in slot will be like if she's fast enough and hopefully enough bulk and ER, you know, she'll probably want Doctor's Bag. I think that probably will be her best in slot, just so you can cleanse away the extra debuffs, especially if you run into C Lilius, the attack down, it's gonna be really big. Skill Nullifier granted and 20% CR boost at that base speed, man. Oof. She's really, in my opinion, very, very good. Just know, in my opinion, after the S3, after the passive is procced, she just loses all the steam, right? So she requires the full team to carry it. Actually, in the battle preview here, there's an Edda tucked in the back on the top. So like Edda play, pushing up a Green Sid with Wanderer Silk and all that stuff. Like I think she's a solid opener. If anybody doubts that, they need to get their brains checked, because she is. I mean, it's plain. Her kit, in my opinion, is really simple. It's really simple, so therefore it's simple but effective. So in my opinion, it's a successful design in a character. This S3 animation, kind of cute. I like this facial expression. Those of you guys know that the head tilt from Fire Litica always gets my knees weak. And I think Melissa has a pose or an expression that's something like that. Anyways, we're talking about S1. So S1 is probably the only thing that I would say that I don't like as much. You get up to a 60% effect chance to sleep. It does not trigger a dual attack, which is good because you don't want to wake them up. But it's like sometimes you're on your Soul Weaver's turn, you're just like, S1, please dual attack with Hua Yang, you know, that could be the game changer, right? Like, you know, dual attack with Hua Yang with your DN S1, and then she cuts your opponent, and then she finish off the fight before they can revive or heal or whatever, you know. So it's this one's a mixed bag. So it makes sense that, you know, if you're putting them to sleep, you don't trigger dual attacks, but then sometimes maybe you want to dual attack, but maybe you don't. So maybe like this would be really good into like Lionheart Sirmia or something. So you don't trigger the dual attack. I'm a mixed bag on this one because I can see the pros and cons, but I don't feel that this is a really good skill. That's just my opinion. I just feel like if they felt that, you know, S2 is actually too powerful, S3 is too powerful, let's just make the S1 really bad. I honestly don't know what else it could be. I guess sleep. I mean, I guess it's better than nothing. 60% chance to sleep with no dual attack. I guess it's better than nothing. Being able to disable, I guess, could save you. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I think her skills are very straightforward. Not much to contemplate. The only thing is like now you just have to start digging up all of the heroes that have an extra turn that may be drafted because of meta. So basically, the more heroes that she can be picked with and picked into, obviously it makes her higher value. And I'm just saying that, you know, comparing to Angel of Light Angelica versus her, Angel of Light was just too oppressive, too very, very strong. And, you know, she's not as strong, but I feel like all of her kit is designed to fit into the meta one way or another. So that's my opinion on her. I feel that if I'm gonna rate this out of 10, I don't do ratings on these, but if I were to rate her out of 10 on the surface level, on paper, I feel that she's a solid like 8.5. But the 8.5 just because like for one type of playstyle, I think she really accelerates at. And then potentially for like arena offense, guild war offense, just to counter C Lilius. Obviously she's gonna be very solid there, but yeah, that's my thoughts. And then in World Arena, you would have to have the gear. for her, and then for all of the other heroes that had to accompany her into the theory crafts that I was discussing throughout this video. Anyways, so that's my initial thoughts on Moon Bunny Dominiel. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Yeah, so I'm getting this here for the video recording. If you guys have Discord, check out the Discord server. Follow me on Twitter, subscribe to YouTube if you haven't. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.